to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Zombieland Double Tap. Alternately, John, Zombieland 2, which I've also heard it referred to as. A little bit confused, the marketing for this movie, John.
It's tough.
It's the second
They
one.
waited too long and then confused themselves.
Chapter 2. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me tonight, first up, briefly here to go over a little BGH 5K stuff from Chicago, Illinois. Joe, I know you're not wearing a hat tonight because you just got a haircut. Please welcome Joe to the show.
Got them all cut, Eric.
Yeah.
Are you and Kyle on the same haircut schedule? He got a haircut today too. Wait, were you together?
I was.
Did
Oh,
you
I
get
was.
joint haircuts together.
No, they do each other's.
It was. Last week.
Oh.
Joe's wife is looking at the credit card statement. She's like, once a month you fly to Atlanta for the afternoon, and then when
3
you come
hours.
back, your hair's cut? What's going on here?
I think I'm just gonna let anybody touch this coif.
Yeah. Joe, you're one of the few people in my life who I always know when they get a haircut. I just want you to know that. I hope you appreciate it.
There's a specific Fantastic Sam's, and it is in Atlanta, and they're the only ones I trust with this.
Yeah. Next up on the show, it's Halloween time, and she's our resident witch coming to us from Hotlanta, Georgia. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
Next up from Manhattan, New York City, he had surgery just the other day, so he's hopped up on pain pills. I assume he's full of cadaver parts now. I don't really know what's going on over there, but please welcome John to the show.
I was asleep for the surgery, so I actually don't know what is going on either.
You could have all kinds of parts inside of you. I have no idea.
Parts is
Dare to
parts.
dream.
Thin
Dare to
mint.
dream.
The only thing you had inside you, huh, John? I've seen movies.
It's, I think it's more of like an idle hand situation.
Yeah.
Thin mints. I've seen that episode of Seinfeld. I know. From Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
And last up tonight, first time ever on the show, special guest, please welcome Valeska.
Hi, everyone.
So Valeska, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yay.
Thanks for inviting me.
You know our resident witch, Cece.
Very well, I do.
Yes.
You guys have worked together, is that right?
Yeah, she does covers for my magazine, Grim Magazine.
That's right. So
And she's amazing
I
at it.
We're also friends in real life.
Well, I thought that was implied.
Oh,
But
we're
now I feel terrible.
I know.
All it
I'm
is.
so sorry,
Cece, you
Cece.
finally got friends?
it's like spooky friends,
Look,
even
that's why I
spookier.
have to say when my friend is here, I need it in verbalization.
So for people
fair, it's fair.
for people who don't know, so you created Grim Magazine, and you're kind of like the overseer, editor-in-chief of that magazine.
Yes,
And
I'm
Cece,
the overseer of the magazine.
do you like that? Cece,
I like that title.
Cece's done some covers for you guys.
She's done all of the covers for us.
Amazing.
She is a brilliant artist.
They're all very beautiful.
Aw.
Yes.
So nice.
And you also have a book coming out soon.
Well, I've co-edited a book on religion in the horror film called Idolatry, Religion, and Worship in the Horror Film, fittingly enough, and it comes out in February.
Great.
And if people want to learn more about that, they can go to holpublishing.com.
Awesome.
We have a mailing list. It's very fancy, so
Joe, when does your book come out?
head on over.
It's more of an online blog.
Like a live journal?
Joe's like, my book is mostly pictures of people
He's
doing
working
it.
up to live journal.
I don't know if like sexcapades is really a word, but like that's how I would describe it.
Oh no, that's a word.
Well, Valeska, welcome to the show. We picked a very intellectual movie
Thank
for your first
you.
time on the show tonight, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Are you drinking a White Claw, Eric?
Ain't no laws when we're drinking claws, Joe.
That's right.
know how we
Nobody's
do.
above the claw.
That's right.
Tell me that's the slogan.
Joe, do you want to guess why I'm drinking tonight?
No.
Because
Well-
I made him mad.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So I mistakenly sassed Cece over email today, and I was afraid that she was gonna murder me in cold blood live on air like she did to you. So I was just getting
Yeah.
ready for it.
So you looked me into that email, and I started reading through, and I saw a lot of rage.
It
But
was-
mostly my eyes were drawn to John's like comic book guy Simpsons character. It's like, actually, this is a take on Stephen Crowell the years ago, and excellent.
Oh, Joe.
So yeah, I mean, fun fact: Joe hasn't actually been on the show in a month. It's been his ghost after he was murdered in cold blood. But yeah, John was really the one who was working me up, and then Cece sent something that I thought was directed at me, and I snapped back at her, and I've literally felt bad about it for the last like 4 hours. So
You're trying to numb those feelers.
yeah, I'm
I get it.
I'm just drinking my feelings away. So here we are. Joe,
What's up?
you are here tonight because a very special event happened this weekend. That is the BGH 5K. We can say now second annual. It's annual now.
Well, I mean, based on what I'm estimating the cost is going to be to mail out these medals that we have to order, it may be the last one.
Well, maybe next year we don't do participation medals. Maybe next year it's just the winners.
Well, yeah. So this is the second year we've done it. This past weekend, Saturday and Sunday. For those of you who aren't familiar, we invited folks to go out, run a 5K, send us the results. And last year, I want to say we had just about 50. I think the final number was like 52 folks that entered. And this year, I am happy to report that we are still getting like a trickle of folks sending in their times from this past weekend. But like we're at about 70, if not more. So
That's great.
actually had a better turnout this year, which I was getting kind of nervous because with Spooktacular last month, we obviously had been really focusing on that and
Yeah.
hadn't put a ton of promotion or just, we kind of blitzed folks last year and didn't do it nearly as much this year. So I was a little nervous that we weren't going to have that good of a turnout, but no.
Also, you're just a nervous guy. Should we just
Well,
get
yeah.
that up
I
front?
mean, it's part of the job. But yeah, I mean, Friday night, we got our first entry from some folks over in Australia. And then Saturday morning slowly started to trickle in. I was up at the crack of dawn, like 5 a.m., waiting for the sun to come up to go out and do mine.
Yeah, Joe,
which
yeah.
I was going to mock John and everyone else about, but then we'll get to John's time later.
Whatever.
made us
I
all
don't
feel
know.
like
He's doping. It's fine.
I was gonna say that
also-
he's just wearing the arm wrist or the arm sling for a cover.
Also, he's naturally hairless, so it's really not fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a great turnout, a ton. I want to say probably less BGH staff members this year, but way more listeners.
Yeah.
turned out.
Imagine that.
Joe, can I tell you? Can I
oh.
tell you a secret about my 5K time, Joe?
Yeah.
I didn't actually finish. Here's why. I got all excited because I didn't think I was gonna run, and I got to the gym and I'm like feeling good. So I was kind of doing intervals. I was doing like half mile intervals,
Yeah.
and like walk run. And then I'm like all proud of myself. And then I come home later. My wife's like, you didn't finish. I was like, what? And she's like, look at the image. And I looked at it. It was 3.01 miles. I
Well,
stopped.
here's a fun fact, and I like to call this maturity because after you sent that text, I sent it a separate one to John. Like, I don't have the heart to tell this little guy that he didn't
Aw.
actually run.
You know what, Joe? I appreciate you. Thank you. I was very proud of myself. Thank you for not cutting me down like my wife did.
But no, so John, Eric, Valeska, you went out and did it. Sophie, Andy, a couple others from the site. Andy from Night of the Living podcast did it, who has not mailed me his time, so I hope he does. But I guess I can kind of officially say that the trophy was brought back home to the U.S. this year, thanks to one Mr. John T. Schnars, who crushed our previous record with a time of 18 minutes, 35 seconds.
I believe Joe described that as Kenyan-esque.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was probably the fastest 5K I've ran in like a decade. So
It
man,
was
it felt good.
It was impressive. Close second was Connor, one of our listeners from overseas. I don't actually have what country he's from, but he came in at 19:35. And then we had a few folks, Ben, Jacob, and Adam, all came in just a little over 20 minutes, and then a slew of folks close to that. But folks walked. We had one of our listeners who was actually at the meetup that I used to work with. Megan, she did it with her family and actually just tracked her steps as she walked around like a pumpkin patch with them
That's
and
great.
did the 5K.
Yeah, last year I did laundry while I was doing it.
Valeska, I think you did something similar. Like you kind of walked around the city and just tracked your steps, if I remember right.
Yeah, I did like almost 11K.
Awesome. Yeah. So
That's a
Mic
lot.
drop.
That's a lot of case.
Yeah, but
mean,
I was walking, so it doesn't really count.
No, it does.
to be fair, I did do 5 miles, John. So I don't want to say like maybe you did quicker, but I did more. So I win, I think is what.
Well,
Joe,
did
I didn't send you my warm up or my cool down mile that you know.
Did
I
our
had to do, but-
Irish sprinter from last year run again? Wasn't he the winner
I
last
think
year?
that's Connor. I think that was
Oh.
Connor.
I think it is. Yeah. Yeah. I think he is.
And we
our-
also, again, it was cool. We had like on Friday, we had an early, like it's Saturday in Australia. Here's my time. So
Yep.
it's always fun because it kind of gets the weekend kicked off early.
Marlin, I believe,
Yeah.
was
Yes.
our Australian listener. Yeah.
I
and
don't
then
know
a
why
bunch of
it's after all these years, I still find the thought of someone listening to us in a foreign country really weird, even though it's like the internet and it's everywhere. I'm
Well,
always
we're
delighted
We're
by
global
that.
citizens.
That's true.
We and this one I thought we actually posted it, but this one I thought was really great. But we had a listener stationed over in Africa who sent us in his
Oh, yeah.
pictures. It
Oh,
was
nice.
John. You have that in front of you by chance?
That one
Was
was
it
really
Adam?
that one.
He's in Kenya. I know that. And yeah, he's like stationed with the military over there.
Joe, was that
Yeah.
the one? Was that the one, Joe, that almost made you cry?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, Kevin is his name. So yeah, I got a ton of emails. We got a ton of pictures. I'm gonna put together like Instagram post with a handful of pictures that we got and post it up so everyone can see. But I got a bunch of emails and I just kind of flagged a few that I just want to skim through quickly because they were really, again, like just awesome stuff to hear. One from Dana who said, some fun info. I'm 6'3" and 41 years old, and gave like weight and everything, which I don't want to put anybody on blast, but I spent about 3 months building up to being able to run this flat out. I started the timer early to make sure that I got into my chip time. Was a sliver under 1 hour and 4. So it just kind of goes on. I know I'm stumbling, but like. We got a bunch of emails like this where people said like I haven't run in a while, or this was kind of my motivation to get out and do something, which I just thought was really awesome. Megan, I already mentioned, she kind of went out and did walked around the pumpkin patch, which I thought was really awesome. We had 2 listeners, Angela and Maureen. Angela is currently pregnant, which I thought was really awesome.
Joe, you said that weird.
A few times. What is that? Oh,
kinda
I'm
flinched.
misreading. Sorry, it's Marta and Maureen. They're both pregnant, which I thought was great. Maureen is like 29 weeks, so she's getting there, and she ran a
That's
full
amazing.
half marathon, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Oh wow.
And then I got this one today from Mikey, which really impressed me. He said, I did walk it, but that is due to the fact that earlier in the day I had 2 teeth pulled and I was told to not have strenuous activity or else I could bleed and break my stitches. To be fair, they said not even to walk a 5K. Since I didn't have the foresight to ask, but they also told me not to have a beer, and I totally did that once I finished anyway. What this shows.
Caution to the wind.
Yeah,
I love
it ain't bloody good without a bit of blood. Dentists are full of shit. Magnets, how do they work?
Oh, man.
Question.
brutal.
Number 5, profit. And then he actually sent a picture of some of the extremities.
Yeah,
which made
it's
me
cool. Like these events, this and the the meetup and stuff. It's always like we do this show into a void. It's always really cool when we do these things that let us interact with the audience more and like see people. I'm always surprised by just like the people across all different walks of life that are BGH fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We had a handful of folks that went out and did it as couples. Angela, one of our listeners, said her and her husband kind of did a couch to 5K and used this as a starting point. So really, really good stuff. So thanks everybody for sending in your stuff. I know we said that we're not shipping stuff overseas, but I have emailed a few folks, and if you're listening to this and I forgot to send it back to you, but if you want a back episode, since we're not sending you a medal or anything, just shoot me a note back and I'll send you anyone that you have in mind. And yeah, there you go.
That's great. Thanks for that, Joe. Joe, you're gonna hop in and join us later.
Yeah. Just let me know and I'll be back.
Great. Thanks, man.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you, buddy.
I'll talk to you in a few. Bye.
All right, guys. John, real quick here before we jump into the review. Did you see the trailer for The Countdown?
Yeah, I believe it's just called Countdown.
Oh, Countdown? Well, same
Yeah.
thing, John. Same thing. So this is a movie about an app. Like that tells you
yeah.
that tells you when you're
It's
gonna die.
It's a death app.
Yeah, but then you really die when it happens.
Death app.
This is this year's
Death app.
like Truth or Dare. I feel like looking at it.
It's funny.
Marketing wise, they did put that app out there because my daughter found it the other day.
Oh, funny. I mean, I'm
Is
sure
it
that's a
just
thing that
countdown.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's just a thing that already existed.
so weird.
Well, there's definitely been sites that if you like plug in information, it'll tell you how long you're gonna live. The thing that's weird about this movie, so I hadn't seen anything about it. I did get the trailer as well. It's like a supernatural thing. Like,
Yeah.
yes, there's
Yeah.
an app and there's technology, but then it's
Well,
also
it's like the Ring
there's
for
like a
modern. You know,
demon.
yeah.
it's like the Ring for modern
Yeah.
day.
Hey, app developers have died too, John. It's possible.
I guess that's fair. I guess that's
Um,
fair.
The other one that I want to bring up that actually looked good was Underwater.
I didn't
not
see
get
that
that.
one.
I didn't see that
It's
one
like
either.
a bunch of scientists on like in an underwater research facility. It's
Oh wait,
Mm.
is
and there's
Kristen
Kristen Stewart? Yeah.
Kristen
Yeah,
Stewart,
I think I did see that.
who I'm a fan of, John.
Mhm.
I don't know about you.
K-Sue? Yeah, who
I'm
wasn't
excited
K-Sue?
that she's a Charlie's Angel.
Yeah. Oh, and I got that trailer too.
I got the Charlie.
Yeah, that movie looks dope. I love Elizabeth Banks. She's just
Eh.
great.
Yeah.
Did you
Dope
just
is
did you just Elizabeth Banks?
No, I love Elizabeth Banks.
Okay.
I just think the movie looks like.
All right, that's fine, but let's not get crazy here, John. I feel like you're feeling a little bold tonight in your peach colored shirt.
Yeah, I'm basically Parmachine now, Eric, so you know.
The oxys are making you a little mouthy, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I could use an oxy right now, I'll tell you. If I don't make it the show.
Couldn't
All right,
agree more.
guys.
That's where I'm at.
I was gonna say if you're sharing, please.
On that note, let's take a quick break so that we can discuss Zombieland Double Tap.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars.
Eric.
I'm not going to linger on this too long because trust me when I tell you it's going to come up later, but you went to Duke.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
While there, you learned words. Now you're here at Bloody Good Horror,
Mhm.
and every week you bring us a word of the day. So, John,
I still know words, it turns out.
sometimes, yeah, please bring us the word of the day.
Today's word, Eric, courtesy of CC, full credit where credit is due. The word is picaresque. Picaresque.
Picturesque?
Picaresque. Picaresque, relating to an episodic style of fiction dealing with the adventures of a rough and dishonest but appealing hero. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
CC. Picaresque. So it is a style of fiction. It's also the name of a Decemberists album, I believe, or something like picaresque.
Sure.
Picaresqueties, I believe.
Uh-huh.
It comes to us from the Spanish picaro, meaning rogue.
I like that accent.
Mhm.
It's doing it for me.
There you go.
Uh,
I've studied some Spanish in my day.
oh, I bet you have, buddy. John, tell me about Zombieland Double Tap, and can you please speak into your mic? I feel like you're fading away there.
Yeah, I can't get super close to my desk because I have an arm immobilizer.
John,
on.
lift the mic up with your
Um,
bad arm, okay? And just get it right. Get it like right here.
Just like nuzzle
There we
it into my
go.
face. All right, I'm gonna try to make this work.
It's like
Zombieland.
it's like Scary Movie too, John. Use your strong arm.
my good arm is the one that got operated on. That's the problem. Zombieland Double Tap is the sequel, 10 years in the making. The original Zombieland 2009. All of the primaries return. Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Abigail Breslin has gone from I believe 13 in the original to now 23. So
10
that's
years.
that was
and
the
we
one big change.
and we did
That's
the
solid math there, John.
we did the original on the show, John. That's how long we've been around.
Yeah. No, for sure. Emma Stone is the last. They are joined here by Rosario Dawson, Zoe Deutsch, Deutsch. How are we saying that?
The Dooch.
And Luke Wilson among others. Same director here. I believe it is also all of the same writers, or at least the original writers returned. May have been augmented. The movie, pretty straightforward, picks up from the previous, but does fast forward. I mean, they don't. It's not like they just kind of pick up with the sequel as if nothing, or as if time hadn't gone by. We kind of rejoin the characters some indeterminate amount of time in the future. They're now living in the White House, as one would do, and I mean, it sort of just follows their exploits. So Abigail Breslin has gone from being sort of the kid to now a rambunctious teen, or I don't know, late teen.
Yeah.
And she wants to sow her oats a little, and so she runs off, and Emma Stone actually runs off with her after kind of coming to some, well, not marital, but relationship strife with Jesse Eisenberg. And the rest of the film is really about the group refinding themselves in this strange land filled with zombies.
Yeah, that was pretty succinct. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I
you
like
go.
it.
All right, Cece,
Yes.
as an apology for sassing you today, I'm going to let you go first.
Are you sure you want me to go first?
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. So I really liked the first Zombieland. So when I found out they were making the second one, I don't know, my interest was piqued, I suppose. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this movie. Like Casey said in our emails before, it's a good popcorn flick. There's not a lot of substance, and I know we'll kind of nitpick at it later, but it's nice to kind of just, strap in and let the action happen rather than having too much of a plot to worry about. So overall, I enjoyed it. I liked the addition of the new characters. I thought that for the most part, it was handled pretty well. There's things that I wish I would have seen more of, especially with the Madison character. And I really would have loved to have seen more Rosario, just because, I mean,
who doesn't?
I know,
Yeah.
she's so magnetic. Like, I would just watch a film of her.
I mean, she single-handedly makes Clerks 2 watchable. Pretty much.
maybe
Barely.
that's what makes this movie watchable.
I could have done with, like, I kind of wish Woody was wearing the Elvis costume through the whole movie, but we can get to that.
Although, one or two impersonations of Elvis was fine, but then it started becoming a shtick, and I was like, I can't. No,
No,
I can't.
I want a whole movie
So-
that's just that.
No. I will say that the camp of pacifists was really an interesting ploy for their plot, or I guess just a plot device in general. So, I appreciated they tried to do something a little different.
Yeah, and we'll definitely dig into that as we go along here. Okay, Valeska, you're up. What did you think of this?
So Cece pretty much took my entire answer. I agree with everything she just said. I think that the Elvis thing kind of takes the place of the Twinkie thing from the first film in terms of like weird kind of character pieces for Tallahassee. But I just want to add on top of that the action sequences were phenomenal in the film.
Yeah.
Like especially the doppelganger fight, which was basically edited to look like one take. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
And I also really like the kind of the continuation of the kills of the week and the year. I would watch an entire miniseries just of those.
Yeah, I agree. Very nice. Casey, what do you think?
I was a big fan of the first one, and I was quite excited once we heard they were going to release the second one. And so I had a lot of hype going into this. And when I came out of it, I got exactly what I was hoping for. More of the characters, more of the humor, more of the over-the-top action. So ultimately, I thought this was a blast. Yes, you can pick it apart, and there are some problems as far as the film structure of it. But like CC alluded to before, this is a fun popcorn flick. So if you want to go to the movie, you just want to watch some crazy shit happen and laugh your butt off for a bit, this is the movie for it, and I appreciate it for what it is.
All right. Wow, everyone's succinct today. I'm really enjoying this. John, what do you think?
I mean, I can ramble if you
I
want.
mean,
No,
we're on
I
our
don't.
best behavior. We have a very illustrious guest.
That's true.
We're
There you
trying
go.
to, you know.
John, just for the record,
Oh
for,
God, don't build that up.
for the record, John, I never want you to ramble. Okay, so let's
Um,
keep it on the rails. here.
Well, so when I saw this after my surgery, so while I am not currently on narcotics, I was at the time I saw this movie very much so on narcotics. I mean it's funny because as much as I kind of like think back fondly on the first Zombieland movie, I could remember almost none of it. So a lot of the stuff that's in this, only once I saw it did I go, oh yeah, they did that the first time. Like the whole bit about they're sort of I keep calling it a production design element, but they essentially have like titles on the screen
That's
for
it.
all of the like rules.
And like zombie
that
kill
stuff-
of the week.
Yeah, well, but especially like Jesse Eisenberg's role. So Jesse Eisenberg acts as the narrator here. I find that like super annoying. It's almost like not necessary. I don't even remember how it played in the first film. I'm sure it was like a little cleaner than this, but
I mean, the whole structure of the
whole-
first film, it's about him and he narrates.
yeah. And so, but here you don't necessarily need that, but they kind of go back to it anyway to kind of keep consistency, which is fine. But the movie's like sort of over directed, over produced in that way, and it is fine. Like it's I just don't think it's super like smooth or clean as far as a film goes. It's a comedy, so it's like I'm probably not evaluating it on the right terms, but it was funny. There were like I agree the action sequences were pretty well done. This director, it is the same guy who directed the first one. The first one was his first movie. He most recently did the Venom film,
Interesting.
which a lot of
Okay.
people really liked.
Yeah.
So
little divisive, but yeah, there's definitely a fan base for them. I mean, they're making another one.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it did really well. So I don't know. I mean, like this is a professionally done movie. All of the acting's really good. I just like kind of came out of it just not really feeling like
Yeah.
I got anything more
I
than I,
mean,
had gotten from the first
Listen,
film.
to call it a
I-
trifle, I don't think is a reach. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
there's
I
not a lot to
also-
it.
I also really like that John was heavily on narcotics and in pain, and this does not make him enjoy the movie
I
more,
would
which
think.
I would
Yeah.
probably walk out and be like, "This is amazing."
Yeah,
but
no,
you're
I
like,
agree. Well, he
"This
he
is
wasn't
shit."
on the right kind of drugs. John was on like some real hardcore
right?
shit. Like he needed
I was
something.
pretty sleepy.
He needed something from the dispensary, is what he needed.
Mhm,
Um,
That's true.
But yeah, so like I will, I really like the original movie, and admittedly, like there's a lot of nostalgia caught up in it for me because we did it in the first like 2 years of the show. So this is probably like around, I don't even know what episode number it was. I'm sure our historian Monica could tell me, but it reminds me of the early days of the show. It reminds me of this very specific, when this kind of current boom period of horror was really like getting fired up, like 2008, 2009. What I love about the original and what I love about this movie is that I just think it's really special that actors of this caliber are getting together to make this goofy genre comedy picture, right? And not only did they do it once, but they're doing it again after one of them literally won an Academy Award. Like, I don't think it's a stretch to say this is the only period in history when that would have happened. That would never have happened in the 90s, right? That is really cool. And it's a really weird, fun pairing of actors, which I think is the other really neat thing about this series is that like Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg are like a great odd couple. Emma Stone is always amazing. Abigail Breslin is always good. Like I really like the shtick, and it's what you get in this movie is like it's almost to me feels like and I think this is, you know, from what we've talked about tonight already, this is either a criticism or something that works for you, but it very much feels like serialized content, right? It's like this is 100% the continued adventures of Zombieland. It's like here's how where everybody landed at the end of the last movie. We're just going to write a script sort of like what we think might happen to these relationships if this status quo just kept up for a while, right? And it's very again,
Would you
like,
almost say it's picaresque?
yeah, that's exactly what I would say.
No, but
yes.
they, you know, it's funny. So, because I'd sent the Wikipedia has a lot about the development. They actually did intend to make this a show, and I think
This
they
would
might
make
have
a
even
good
developed.
I mean, if you cast the same people, you're not going to get those two dudes to
Well,
be on
yeah,
your
right
show,
there.
but your dumb zombie show. But like, so
They get Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch though.
I will agree with. I'll definitely agree with some of the criticism, and it's not just you, John. I've heard this from other people on Slack and Twitter and stuff like that. It's just like, why are we doing this now? It doesn't bring anything new to the table. But all of those things like didn't bother me because I was 100% in, like, just to see more adventures of Zombieland. You know what I mean? And like full on, I could watch this Woody Harrelson shtick all fucking day. I don't care how rote it is. I don't care like how one note it is. He is like, and this kind of gets to like the heart of it for me. He's having so much fun doing this movie. Like that article you sent, John, said that as soon as the first movie wrapped, like before they wrapped, he was going to the director like, dude, we got to do another one of these. You know what I mean? Like, I very much enjoyed late stage Woody Harrelson because I think he just does what he wants role wise, and he's able to move across from like serious stuff to goofy stuff in a really fun way. So anyway, I was here for this. I thought it was really funny. There's some character stuff that's a little kind of wishy-washy that we can talk about, but overall, I super enjoyed it. I'm on the plus side on this one.
I mean, it's funny because, like, again, I think I like the first film, and without revisiting the show about it, I actually considered going back and listening to the episode just to hear what we all had to say. That movie, like, one of the reasons it works, and it is funny, it hits a lot of the same notes, there's a lot of the same brand of humor, but you have characters that have arcs to them. And that to me is like where this movie, it's not that there's character stuff. It's like they just don't actually do anything. Like they like do things. There are problems that they solve, but no one like learns or grows or develops except like kind of Tallahassee, like
No.
kind of.
I mean, I think
like,
there's actually a
Emma
lot. I think
Stone,
there's
like-
actually a pretty clear arc with the Jesse Eisenberg Emma Stone character. I mean, it's what most of the movie's about, right?
Yeah, and there's
What
a
is
pretty
the-
big
what
arc
is the
with
arc,
with
though?
Abigail.
Okay,
Yeah,
like,
It's
I
that-
mean, kind of a they end up back where they were. I mean, because he literally says at the beginning of the movie they were in a quote unquote marital like situation,
But
and then they do end up getting engaged.
I think it's like them working through. I can't believe I'm talking about their relationships in Zombieland too, but it's like them working through like their Emma Stone's feeling like they just sort of ended up together because it's the apocalypse and they're like the only two people, and so and plus and John, it actually squares with like her character from the first film, who's like this wandering sort of, you know, like I don't know if you remember this, John, but her and the sister are basically like bandits in the first movie. Like they run into them because they steal their car.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's from the beginning that's sort of like an odd pairing relationship. You
They
know what
want
I
to
mean?
be back on the road.
And so they lean into that in this movie, that they're just totally different people, and so they're having trouble making it work in the apocalypse, John.
You can't expect me to remember that 10 years after the fact. Like,
See, I'm
that's
pretty
the
sure
one
I've
thing I'll
seen this
say.
movie again. I think I've seen it more than once because I remember a lot
But you
from
can't
it.
assume that of your
I
audience.
Yeah.
Eric's right
can.
though, because I actually rewatched it on Friday before I went to see this 2 on Saturday. So
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
all right, that's fair.
I'm just saying the
I
link.
rewatched it this morning, and I was sorry.
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I was shocked by how many of the jokes they recycled. Like I remembered a few of the points, a few of the beats from the first one, being in the second one, but it's just like 80% of the film.
Yeah, it's
Do
like
they
it's
do
like
the
they're
kill thing?
Cycled,
Is it like-
regurgitated
Yeah.
from the first.
they do the kill thing.
The
It's a
kill
lot
of
of
the
like
year?
it's a lot of riffing on jokes from the first movie, right? Like so there's this
yeah,
bit
the
in
first movie it was Kill of the Week.
but like there's this bit in the trailer with like Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch, who by the way, Thomas Middleditch sucks. I don't like this dude. I get him off my screen.
What?
Really?
Oh
I
my
like his
God.
performance.
No,
yeah,
well-
it's
Yeah, I love
Silicon
him.
Valley.
Part of it is like I've read a bunch of stuff about him and I've seen interviews with him and he's like, yeah, I'm good. But anyway,
All right.
so they show up and it's basically the gag is that they're just like Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg. They're just like mirror funhouse versions of them, and like Thomas Middleditch has his own set of roles, you know. But he calls them commandments,
Commanders.
They're
and
the
so
commandments, yeah.
thankfully this doesn't last super long because these dudes are not I don't think like on par, but that's sort of indicative of a lot of the gags in the movie. It's like Velasquez saying, they're sort of like they're just kind of taking what they already wrote and just like riffing on it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not like super different. It's like they're definitely hitting all those notes. And I get it, John, like it was 10 years ago, but I feel like your audience for Zombieland 2 is probably mostly
Well,
there for it, right? You know what I mean?
I also appreciate that. Okay, so we're regurgitating and reusing all of the things from the first movie, which is fine. It worked then. It's not broken. Whatever. But I do have to say, at least if you're going to do that, that it seemed they were very aware of how long to make these things last, because like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, I mean, they're like doppelgangers didn't last too long. Like anytime, it was interesting too with the Madison character, which I'm sure we'll get into, but like you only get her in increments. You don't have her throughout the entire
Yeah.
movie. It's like you have her here, okay, you have a break, like you've got something else going on. So I liked that they were aware that like
Yeah.
they probably shouldn't harp on things
Well,
for too long.
Yeah, it's very much like a modern comedy in that it's like this. Like the jokes are just flying, so even when they don't
Yeah.
land, it's like they're just on to the next one. And there's definitely a lot of that Apatow-esque ad-libbing thing going on. Like that whole Uber joke, I guarantee you there's 10 minutes of footage they cut from that of just the actors like bullshitting. Like that to me was Emma Stone's funniest scene probably, was her like being like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Just have a stranger pick you up in her car and drive away." Do we want to talk about it's Madison? Valeska, we were like going over email like this is sort of this interesting thing is this new character they introduced of Madison. Kind of like how do we feel about her?
Well, what I was saying in the email is I think what's really interesting about Zombieland 2 is that it kind of does the same thing that the first one did with pitting two different versions of gender presentation and performance against one another. So in the first Zombieland, you had the juxtaposition of Tal's more traditional hypermasculinity and then like Columbus's more sensitive, bookish, cautious kind of characterization.
That's my kind of dude. Just to be
Right.
clear. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, my kind of dude too. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, the film did demonstrate the value of Columbus's more like kind of sensitive approach,
Right.
and he manages to survive alone for some time. He gets the girl and the stone, and that's fine. But then in Zombieland 2, they kind of do the same thing with Wichita and Madison, but I don't think it works as well for a few different reasons, which I'm sure we'll be getting into now.
Yeah. I mean, so she comes onto the scene. They find her in a mall, right? And she's been surviving for years in
She's living in the freezer.
in the freezer of like a frozen yogurt place or something. And she's like, she literally looks like she walked out of Legally Blonde or something. She's like all pink. She's got this like, I don't even know what the accent is. It's like kind of a Valley Girl thing, sort of.
It's like a modified Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the classic modified Valley. But I don't know this actress. I thought she was so funny in this role, and there's certainly
Oh,
like
she's
yeah.
amazing.
yeah, they certainly I think could have like finessed the way they characterize her a little bit, but they do end up like again. So you're making this movie, right? And this is a movie for nerds, right? Like Zombieland is for nerds, and so I think it's safe to say that the vast majority of your viewers are gonna relate more to the Eisenberg character than the Woody character. But what I like about the first movie and what I like about this movie is ultimately the message is like we all bring something different to the table. We only kind of survive together, right? And like they're both movies are ultimately about really different kinds of people coming together to survive. And so, yeah, like you've got this Woody like machismo kind of shtick, but it's meant to be funny because he's such an oaf, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, like Eisenberg is this bookish kind of nerd. He's also meant to be funny, but we're also, I feel like, meant to find endearing things in everybody. And I feel that way about Madison, even though certainly I will agree that the character is like maybe dialed up like a little too high.
Yeah.
They
No,
could
I-
have balanced
I
her a little
agree.
bit better.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
don't care that she's dialed up. Like, that's great. Like, make her super ditzy, make her very, I mean, almost vapid or whatever. But I mean, it's like they started to show all the things that like she had done to survive. I mean, she's super resourceful. We see her in a ice cream truck later
Oh my
on.
God.
But like she specifically says when she meets them that she's a vegan, that she's a pacifist, and everyone's like, okay, well yeah, you've just been hiding, for 10 years. But then she saves Wichita during this huge like action scene with her mace that she talks about carrying around with her. So it's
Yeah.
just like you could have really had more scenes of showing like that's fine if that's your personality and that's who you are as a character, but like let's see like the depth
Yeah,
of that.
because
there
Yeah,
still had
exactly.
to been some skills that let
Yeah.
her, as the pacifist and a vegan, to survive 10 years, even if she was hiding in there, because she didn't
Right.
stay in the freezer the entire 10
Because
years.
the
Yeah,
the
and
obviously
that's-
analogy to her character is Eisenberg's, and obviously like they spend most of the first movie explaining how his bookishness like helped him survive, right?
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
so
I was gonna
okay,
say she
but
doesn't
that
have the
doesn't-
backstory that they all bring to this movie.
that's what I,
the
yeah,
difference.
no, I'm
It's
agree.
like,
I'm a,
don't introduce her if you're not going to give me that. At least, I could have had one flashback and been like, okay, I'm relatively
yeah,
satisfied.
no, I totally agree. They could have fleshed that out more. I just think generally, I thought I loved the performance. To me, when she shows back up in that ice cream truck and nearly runs them off the road, I thought that was one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Like just
Yeah.
their shock at seeing her alive was amazing.
Well, and then she's
I
like,
half
she's
expected
like,
her to be a zombie driving it. Like,
Yeah. I really like that scene.
And she
No,
does
so
like
that's,
she does save Emma Stone at one point too with her mace. Like I kind of found
Yeah.
their interactions like their little mini arc was kind of cute. I thought like the two of them sort of earning a kind of grudging respect for one another.
But there
The-
wasn't
the
really that
actors-
redemption arc. Sorry, John.
Yeah.
There wasn't that really, because like if they wrap up this movie where they make the clear scene that they show Madison, they're all like, because Madison sees the guy and they're all like, yeah, go ahead. And she's like, oh, thank you, and kisses the guy. They've all accepted her and everything, but they didn't necessarily. They did show a lot of things like Eric's saying, where her and Emma Stone kind of patched things up and started to like each other. But there wasn't like a big redemption scene that made them all say, hey, she's all right and she's good for our group and she's handy to have around. Which typically with that character in that arc you would have.
I think there's a little bit of lip service paid to it, but certainly there isn't a big moment.
yeah.
At the end they basically get to, they're not going to throw her out, but they also are, they're like, all right.
Yeah.
She the actress is Leah Thompson's daughter.
Oh, okay,
She's,
okay. She's great.
Really?
man.
Leah Thompson
I'd love
and
to
somebody
see.
else.
Yeah, I'd love to see her in other stuff. She was really funny. I mean, and again, like you're trying to hold your own with like a pretty big group, like well-known group of actors. So I give her a lot of credit for hanging.
She's the funniest part of the movie,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's
And it
brings
brings some new energy to it too, which obviously needed. So
well, I think I can just one last thing.
No, go ahead.
I really do think that the more I think about it, like I still wish we would have had more of a development if you're going to pit Wichita and Madison against each other, like Valeska said. But I also appreciate that she is such a that she balances Wichita's energy in terms of like she's very dark and moody, and there's like this, I don't know, it works well, but it's still very very surface. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what makes it tolerable.
Sure. So as the movie goes on, they basically the driving thing of the plot is that they're looking for Abigail Breslin because she ran off to kind of hang out with this hippie dude who has weed, and he takes her back to his hippie commune. I loved the art design on this place. It's like a giant tower. It it reminded me of, if anybody's played Fallout 4, like the whole the whole like conceit of Fallout 4 is that like it's set in Boston and there's like little kind of communes spread all around, and then you can build your own. But it actually, like, I swear to God, the person was playing, whoever designed this movie was playing this game, because it reminded me of the same prefab pieces where you can like build metal walls out of. But so they got this tower. You go up to the top of the tower. It's like a party up there. They're smoking weed. They've got like this like fake grass laid out.
But no group sex.
Yeah, no guns. In order to get in, you
Well,
gotta have your
maybe.
you gotta have, well, yeah, you gotta have your guns melted down or whatever to get in. So that sets up kind of this tension where, in order to get in, to find Abigail Breslin, they have to have all their guns melted down. Of course, once they get in there, they discover that this new breed of like super zombie is they're all headed for the place because they're shooting off fireworks, which, by the way, is actually really similar to the Trolls movie, if you've seen that, John. That's how the
I'm familiar.
whatever they're called,
The
I don't-
Bergens.
the Bergens find the trolls. The trolls love to have parties and they're setting off fireworks.
What?
It's this,
yeah, the
it's
troll
the
movie's
same thing.
great, so just don't step. All right.
No, the troll
I've
movie.
just never seen it.
It's
This
a
is
it's
amazing.
a it's a work of art. Anyway,
Yeah.
so they're there. They have no guns. The zombies are there, and then so the third act is kind of like they have to come together with these hippies. Obviously, like they're setting up a lot of like gags here between like specifically Tallahassee, who just doesn't like, this is not his way of life, right? So he doesn't really get it. There's this whole kind of fatherly subplot that they're working through there, and then at least this big action set piece finale. it's kind of interesting because like the movie, there's definitely a pretty decent set piece at the end. I actually sort of enjoyed that. Like, and we talked about this over email. I feel like there's this phenomenon of like comedy and action comedy sequel bloat a little bit, where they feel like they need to really justify doing a sequel, so they just it gets to this crazy level. This is like
They did not bloat this.
no, and I kind of
It's
like that. It's simple.
underbloated.
It's like this is you remember I've been railing on this a lot lately, but like this, all the false endings and the like like 4 finales. Like this is a really like simple A to B to
Yeah.
C story, and there's a big action set piece, and then the movie's over. And like I kind of
See,
like how clean it is.
Like the counter description that I might offer is that they basically get to this point and they're like, ah, shit, we need something to wrap this movie up. So then they have, I think it's just Tallahassee by himself, right? At that point, and he's like driving away, going off into the sunset, and it's like, oh shit,
oh,
movie
he
can't
sees
end now.
them. He sees them heading for the tower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because now, and oh, by the way, they've like introduced the fact that there's 3 types of zombies, but wait,
Yeah.
now there's a 4th type of zombie that's just like super zombie. I
Well,
mean, the whole thing
that's
was a
sequel
little,
101, John.
it was a little thin. No, but then it like literally that I don't know if it was intentionally dumb and like I'm like over analyzing it, but it's just like, ah shit, I guess we got to go back and save all these people now. And then they come up with this plan and
I mean, but
it was a
listen,
fun
the
scene.
whole
I don't disagree.
Yeah, the
but
whole thing I think is like it's designed to be silly and fun, and so to me, if you're
Yeah.
trying to do that, go with like the simplest plot structure you can. You know what I mean? Like you're there for the
Yeah.
gags. I'm not there
yes.
for. I'm not
And
there.
to-
Here's what I'm saying. I'm not there for the world building of Zombieland 2. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I'm there to
But
watch Woody chew scenery.
See, to your point, I do think you almost need to be high to like truly appreciate
I mean, it
like
certainly
the
might.
like
It
silliness.
couldn't hurt.
The one scene that I would say I love is when Rosario Dawson comes back with the what was it called, like
The big,
big
death.
big bad
Big
yeah
fat
big
death.
bad
Death.
something. Yeah, that thing. Oh my god, when they start plowing zombies, I was like, yes, nice,
Yeah.
Yeah,
very well
agreed.
done. So
that
I
was-
would say if I had a nitpick, because I'm really strong on this movie, and like I said, I had a blast. Good popcorn movie. I didn't care that the plot wasn't thick. My nitpick would be tie into what John was saying, though, is that they didn't need the mutated zombies, and it was pretty obvious that we had to create mutated zombies just to get us to turn around at the end
Yeah.
to get to the big finale.
And frankly, they kill them off so easily. You didn't even really need to say they were mutated. Like, hey, it's just a lot
Yeah,
of
they
them.
didn't really do anything with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, although there are some fun, like, I enjoyed the kind of like Terminator banter when they're with the doppelganger fight scene, like, because they're talking about them and they call them like the T-800, or we're like, that's kind of funny. I don't know, like I dug that.
Yeah, I mean that worked, but,
References,
I mean,
John, I get them.
instead of just one scene with a Homer.
Okay,
With the homers, I mean, the idea is
dude,
funny, but
the Homer
but-
was such a good recurring joke. It was brilliant.
no,
But, like,
at
love
the
the
end it
Homers.
was dumb.
That
with
was
one
the
scene with
best.
a Homer chasing the butterflies, they could have been utilizing Homers because they're dumb and using them
Yeah.
to
John.
slave them or something. Change it up some. They could have done something more interesting with it than
John,
And I
maybe-
think,
No,
I think
John,
that's
the
what I meant
Homer,
in the email.
the Homer at the end was the best one.
No, I
you kidding
disagree.
me?
I'm with Casey on this.
I'm with you, Casey. Like, I think
Get out of here.
it's not that because I did enjoy the movie. It's just that I know we argued about whether or not it's a good movie in the email, but I think that's kind of what I meant in terms of like, I don't know, elevating it a little bit. Like, if you're going to do this, and like, obviously this is a sequel, or I mean, obviously it's a sequel, but I mean, it's a part of, they're trying to make it into a franchise, is what I'm saying. So you would think that they would, yeah, like show them utilizing the Homer type zombies, or like something else is a little more, you know.
Dude, I'm sorry. That was so funny when like they just defeated like 4,000 zombies and they get all scared and they're like, "Oh, never mind," and he just like goes out like that was.
Yeah,
fucking hilarious.
I myself did enjoy the Homer joke at the end. I'm not going to side with John on that, but I think they could have done more with them.
Was there any other scenes you guys wanted to mention, Valeska? Anything we haven't covered here?
Not that I can think of.
I mean, we did, so we can really briefly.
Oh,
get
can we
in.
talk about how cool it was that Madison was the sexual aggressor with Columbus?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
She's
love
all
that.
about it.
I kind of liked that too because it was weirdly realistic in a way of like, look, this is the apocalypse. I haven't met
Yeah.
anyone in years. Like, let's just do
I've
this.
been in a freezer for 10 years.
And he tries to do the like movie good guy thing of like, oh no, but it's like he's literally at that point he's been abandoned more or less, right? Like he doesn't even know if Emma Stone's ever coming back, and he's just like, okay, whatever. Like I like that they just were like, okay, that's fine.
I like that she threatened to go sleep with Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson.
Yeah.
He just needed that D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty
No,
good.
Needed it.
I did
Well,
enjoy
I
that.
would say the whole movie definitely has like a sex positive vibe
yeah.
to it, which I
Oh,
like.
yeah.
I mean, because the Rosario Dawson character, like, there's like a little bit of how she's in the relationship both with Woody Harrelson.
I will say
she
the
gets
one
with Woody
joke.
Harrelson and then the what's his name?
I felt
Luke
like
Wilson, too.
the quote unquote park in my driveway joke might have been a little much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it was a little.
Maybe without that terminology.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was actually the one joke the whole
you know.
movie because like that felt like a joke that was 100% written by a dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Well,
appreciated
sure.
it for the stupidity of it, though, just because it was, hey, park in my driveway, eh?
But again, to
Wait,
John's
none of
point,
it-
like
It totally feels like the kind of joke that guys like that would make, though.
No,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
mean, he's driving a giant monster truck, so like I get it, but I was just like, oh, that was just a weird like.
Yeah, it's Luke Wilson.
I
guys.
really-
He's
I'll-
not
I
gonna
mean,
have so much range.
I know I said this in the beginning, but all the Elvis stuff, I really enjoyed Jesse Eisenberg putting on the blue suede shoes, and Rosario Dawson being like, "Really? You're wearing Elvis's shoes? Like, why?"
Well, that was made even better
His
though because
actual shoes.
they wouldn't fit Tallahassee.
I love it too because like, I don't know, it's kind of funny because the whole deal with the Tallahassee, character is that he's surrounded by people a lot younger than him, and so all of his references and like touchstones are like way over their head. And so like Elvis is so old, dude. Like, can you imagine trying to explain Elvis to like an 18-year-old nowadays, John? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
which also can we
Oh.
talk about how I really appreciated that Little Rock's quote unquote boyfriend Berkeley is a quote unquote musician, and he's like telling her he's written all these songs, but they're like Bob Dylan and the Beatles, and this whole time she's just like, oh yeah, you're so great, this is amazing, and then at the end she's like, dude, you didn't write any of those songs, like I knew.
12-year-old knows
Yes.
who Bob Dylan is.
yeah, good times. All right, guys. Did somebody text Joe?
Yes,
I would
did.
like Joe to come back now. All right, guys.
did.
Very good. Would you recommend Zombieland, Cece,
Sure.
in the theater?
No.
Velasca, what do you think?
I mean, it's a fun action film. I would say see it in the theater, but walk out before the mid-credits scene. Because I hated
I
that
love the
so
mid-credits.
much.
love-
Oh,
yeah.
I hate it.
No, I liked it. Bill Murray shows back up is what we'll say. I enjoyed it, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually did walk out like halfway through it, so maybe it went on too long. I don't know, but
you know what it is
I
for
thought
me?
I chuckled
was-
through.
You know what it is for me? Like, he doesn't do anything nowadays. So to see him do a scene that involved, like, he's literally doing stunt work, and he seemed to really be enjoying it, and I just kind of, like, enjoyed watching it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm happy he got to do it. But...
I enjoyed that scene and I appreciated it too because in one of the trailers out there was a quick blip of Al Roker interviewing him talking about Zombieland, and all I could think of going into this was how the hell are they going to pull that off?
dude,
And
I
to see
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's how they pulled it off.
I did really like the gag, too, of Rosario Dawson, where she's like, if I ever find out who killed Bill Murray, I'm going to fucking kill him. John, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a no. At least
you
maybe
douche.
watch it.
That's a no
You know,
for me.
This is like a late night, TNT joint.
Oh,
Whatever, dude. Casey.
Whatever.
I would say absolutely in the theater. It's a good time.
Yeah, I think 100%. I mean, you don't have to see it in the theater, but it was
No.
like my audience really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I think, like, listen, if you're a John, maybe skip this one. If you're an Eric, might be one to check out. As long, like, I think, like,
Please.
but the point being, like, if you loved the Zombieland shtick and you're totally cool with just getting more of it, that's not doing much more than that, you should
Yeah.
see it. If you're looking for more out of this thing, or you're looking for it to like win you over, like, just maybe just move along.
Yeah, like if you're super baked, go see this movie.
Dude,
if
yeah.
you're high on
Hey, there's
oxycodone,
nothing wrong with that.
maybe don't see this movie.
If you're high
So
on
choose your substances
oxys,
carefully.
We
Yeah.
have we have very different reactions to Oxy, I have to tell you, but
Oh.
okay.
You gotta dial it in for this movie, I guess.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's time. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
The shape, the face, the town, the night. 10 years later. He's back. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, rated R.
Starts Friday, the theater or drive-in near you.
Hey, this is Sasha Jensen from Halloween 4, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back, Joe. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Did we text or email the listeners to like tune back in? Because I assume they all dropped. Like,
Yeah, I assume they just left. Yeah.
45 minutes ago. Or
That's a
something.
good point.
Oh, did you stretch your back, so you could come back and just, carry us out?
I actually ran out and got another haircut.
I like that. Are you wearing some kind of like dad sweater thing tonight?
100%. Actually, this was inspired by Valeska bringing up what's his name sweater in that movie.
Sinister.
Ethan Hawke?
Yeah.
Hawks.
I went on the Amazons and started doing some shopping after. I'm like, I think I need a.
Is it cozy?
It's very cozy. I actually ordered two.
Nice.
The other one I need to send back because it has like a weird almost looks like I'm wearing like the cape from Rocky Horror. Like it's just this weird thing sticking out. So I gotta do some exchanging. In case you guys were curious.
I wasn't, but thank you. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up from Fuji Billy. He's a slacker, Joe. You know him well. We also met him at the meetup. He says, I'm assuming you guys... Okay, I'm actually going to skip all this. He didn't like Zombieland, John, but I don't have to read this.
Nice. Nice. Good work, Fuji.
Also, would you go to Babylon or the Hound Dog Hotel? What do you think,
Hound
John?
Dog Hotel.
Hound Dog.
There's a lot of weed at Babylon, though. That seems pretty dope.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
And
I'm
there's,
kind
like,
of
the
between the weed and the guns.
Yeah.
I was going to say the possibility of group sex, I guess. at Babylon.
Maybe.
I mean,
You can
Hound
have
Dog's
that at
got,
the Hound Dog Hotel.
Hound
Nah,
Dog's
I know,
probably
I
got
know.
weed and it's got whiskey and Rosario Dawson, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Didn't seem very secure, though, but that didn't seem to be a problem for anybody, so...
Yeah.
This is a movie reference, I assume.
Yes, Joe. Okay, John. Just last week, I was saying to you, I was trying to get you to hook me up with one of your old professors so I could discuss some stuff with them, just about your performance here at the show. And would luck have it, John, but one of them wrote us in this week.
Stop it.
I am 100% sure this is legit, and this is a Duke professor, John.
Oh
Get
my God.
outta here.
I'm
hope
sure you
so.
remember. I'm sure you remember this person, John, Professor Plumpkin.
Ah, nice, nice.
Are you serious? Like this is legit?
You think there's a professor named Plumpkin, Joe? Yes, there is. There 100% is a Duke professor named Plumpkin.
You can Google it. There might be someone named Plumpkin out there.
I'm gonna read this. I actually involved Joe in part of this, and you'll see why in a second here, John. But this is his email to us this week. He starts it out, Jonathan.
That is my full name.
As I was auditing the archives for the Chronicle, do you know what the Chronicle is, John?
Yeah, it's the newspaper.
Ah, okay. Did you work? Did you work
Duke
there?
University. I worked there for 4 years.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Anyway, Jonathan, as I was auditing the archives for the Chronicle, I came across your skillfully executed article on abstinence, The Waiting Game.
Nice.
Do you remember this article, John?
Yeah, cover story, feature article.
Like printed out?
Yeah, in a magazine. Yes.
Very nice.
Tower View.
I got to tell you, John, I sent this article to Mark, and he described it as, quote, low-key the horniest article about abstinence he's ever read.
Seriously.
Yeah, nice.
So then I sent it. And then I
That's
sent
good. He got what I wanted him to get out of it.
Yeah, John was secretly trying to write an article about abstinence that made abstinent people so horny that they went back on their vows.
So devious.
Did you actually read the article?
Oh, I did. And
Yeah.
Joe has questions.
I wrote that. I wrote it like 16 years ago. So
Currently, like burning up the internet charts with 0 comments. My main question is: there's a reference to all the jelly and lube wrestling that goes on at Duke. Is that a real thing that happens there?
I mean, I don't know if I would say all the, but that did happen.
Huh.
I have seen that happen. Yes.
Sean, you reference it like it's rampant and like at any point there.
Joe, I wish
never
you. I wish you would bring up the actual quote, Joe, because the quote. I mean, here's the thing, John. This article is really well written. I actually would have loved to have made fun of you for the writing, but it's really good. It's just
thank you.
horny as fuck.
I had a good editor.
It's just really horny.
Right here. And maybe that picture isn't so startling, especially here at Duke, where casual sex often seems to dominate the hookup culture and girls wrestle in baby oil instead of KY jelly.
Yeah. Duke sounds weird. That's all I'm saying.
If that's good, getting you all worked up.
Anyway, John, it's actually,
welcome.
this email's not about the article. There's much more to it, and I'm going to get to that right now. So, so he says on your article, John, it brought back memories of the time we would spend together postulating on the coming dissolution of social standards. I have followed your career trajectory vicariously with great interest, and while in most ways you have fulfilled the expectations your performance at Duke would preclude, I was confused by your association with this entertainment podcast, Bloody Good Horror.
Ooh.
I must say, at first it seemed a wasteful investment of your substantial abilities to engage.
That's what my mom said too, but here we are.
New paragraph.
New paragraph.
However, after listening to the last few episodes, I believed I have a greater appreciation for your social sacrifice. This is where it gets good, John.
Oh, man.
By associating yourself with the common detritus, you give opportunity for enlightenment and erudition wherein social growth might occur. I want to congratulate you on your willingness to, quote, cast your pearls among the swine, and and will be listening with expectant fervor to your generous tuition. New paragraph.
Nice. Oh, that wasn't the end.
As a point of encouragement, I hope you will never forget the founding principle here at Duke. Are you ready for this, John?
Uh-huh.
You are not better than others because you have attended Duke. You attended Duke because you are better than others.
That is the crest, right?
It's all on the thing there.
I look forward to enjoying your contributions and may send further missives as time and desideratum allow. Cordially, Professor Plumpkin. Duke University. It says Duke University right in his email. I'll have you know, John, he has an email address.
It's an @duke.edu.
It's a Gmail address, but it says Professor Plumpkin right in the name, so it seems pretty legit. So
it's practically on Duke stationery.
Strong use of detritus too. I like that.
Detritus. How about desideratum, which I had to look up how to pronounce. I don't even know what that means.
No,
John.
I tip my hat to you because I wouldn't have gotten that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed this was real, but I didn't understand a third of the words in there, so I am fully on board.
This
with
is either
legit.
the smartest person that has ever written in the show, or they spent hours looking up fancy words.
You know, you had me really excited that there was like someone that I went to Duke with who was writing it.
What are you talking about, John? This was your professor, Plumpkin.
Yeah, not true.
I'd like to imagine this is your wife in the next room doing this, just being like, "I'm gonna troll this fucking asshole. Leave me with 3 kids once a week."
It's not off the table. I'll tell you that much.
I want you to know that I just replied to this email with the GIF of Orson Welles clapping. Listen, Professor Plumpkin, I'd like to know more about John's time at Duke and what he was like. If you want to write us in, I think that would be great. I don't know.
Love to hear more memories.
Yeah, I'm curious. So there you go. Beat that. Info
Thank
at
you.
Bloody Good Horror. There's a reason why I read that second. I didn't want to make Fuji Billy follow that up. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address for all your Professor Plumpkin needs. Joe, we also got Twitter.
Yeah, we've got one hashtag that we look at, and it's a doozy. It's that hashtag AskBGH. If you got a question, you need some life advice, you just want to make things right in the world, just send her on in. And we got a handful here. First up from Adam Wick09. That's a good friend, Adam Wick. Just saw The Dead Don't Die, and I have no idea what I expected, but it was definitely not what I expected. Anyone seen it already or thinking of doing it for a show? Funny you should say that, because this past weekend I watched it and was feverishly texting John saying that we should do this, because Cece, I loved it.
We are going to do it on the show. I have a feeling Cece's going to come down with a cold that day.
You say what? Don't sick that day?
So it's cold.
Valeska, have you seen this?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's all right. Have you seen The Dead Don't Die?
I have not seen it.
No.
Don't waste your time.
I have not.
Although based on your feelings about Bill Murray and Zombieland 2, maybe
don't
you should
do
should not watch.
I mean, I like the cast. It's on my list of things to watch for sure. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Joe, I'm excited. I'm curious to check it out at least. We're gonna do it at some point.
Unsarcastically, it's definitely making my top 10. Like, I really enjoyed it. And honestly, like, it probably would have made the 25 if John would have included it.
Oh, Joe, actually, I think I might want to put this on my top 10, Joe, but I don't remember what's on it. Wait, actually, you sent me the link, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at my sheets, okay, Joe? let me refer to my sheets.
Next up from our good friend Erica, that's formerly of Night of the Living podcast. That's Chizzy Whiz. Loved hearing about the beginning of BGH. Don't let them bring you down or break you down, Eric. You sentimental fella, you.
Thank you, Erica. Yeah, I was trying to bring up some memories last week, Joe, of how Night of the Living podcast helped us launch Bloody Good Horror by hooking us up with Casey and John, and you just shit all over it. So there you go.
I'm sure I did. I don't recall, but
I think I was probably shitting a little bit too. I can't remember.
I mean,
yeah, that sounds about right.
You know, not many people care about the Bloody Good Horror BJ, or Before Joe, as I like to call it. But you know
who does? You know who does care? Professor Plumpkin.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
One set of issues. But he's mostly preoccupied with all the lube wrestling that's going on at Duke right now. Next up from our good friend Robel. Why do you think Netflix doesn't just do shorts? Do you think less people would watch something like In the Tall Grass if it were 50 minutes instead of 90?
I would be willing to watch it more knowing that it was only like 45, 50 minutes. And I don't think I would judge it as harshly either.
Yeah, it'd be super easy for them to slap like together like a show to wrap around it too, for just like, here is our shorts program type of thing. You know what I mean? So it's a good idea. Is what I'm trying to say.
This is basically, isn't it sort of what Creepshow's doing right now? I know there's been a lot of chatter on Slack about it. I haven't seen it, but
yeah, but I mean, Netflix is going to have a hell of a lot bigger audience for shorts, and there's not really a good place for people to dig into short films out there.
I want you guys to know that I just bumped Tigers Are Not Afraid for Zombieland 2 from my list.
Don't tell Sophie.
Boom.
Next up, I'll give you the name, and you guys try and guess who the Twitter handle is. It's our friend Tammy Bagri. I'm probably mispronouncing the last name wrong, but she says, "Hey y'all, I was just out trying to enjoy some fishing when I thought of you hot AF guys. It made me wonder, hard AF, who are your current celebrity crushes? If there are girl hosts tonight, they can answer too.
Yeah, of course.
I AF guess.
They can answer first.
And actually, I don't think you guys will guess because this is somewhat coherent, but it's our good friend C.O.W. Flanagan.
Oh, yeah. We couldn't guess because there was proper English.
Guessed, but...
Yeah.
Hot crushes, anyone? Anyone got a hot crush?
I mean,
Mindy Kaling?
Oh,
I'll get behind that one.
I love Tessa Thompson.
yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. Wasn't she in a movie we did that was really? Wasn't she in the Flatliners remake or something?
I think so.
I'm gonna go. Anyway,
I don't think she's in Flatliners. I mean, she's in Thank You for or Sorry to Bother You.
Oh, I like that. Famke? Has Famke in anything lately? Because Famke.
I know. I keep
That's
thinking
just-
of
yeah,
people.
that's timeless
I keep
for
thinking of
Joe.
people that are not at all relevant in modern Hollywood. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't. I needed time to prepare a list. Okay.
Yeah.
We're
Pamela
watching.
Anderson.
I think I mentioned Pamela Anderson. We're watching The Americans, so I'll go Carrie Russell. Also timeless.
Yeah.
You know.
Felicity, huh? All right.
What am I watching right now? I don't even know what I'm. Oh, how about Emmy Rossum? I'm watching a lot of
Okay.
Shameless
bad.
these days.
Kristen Stewart?
Case Stu.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm gonna
Can't
go with
wrong.
the fact that CC knows all too well, but Evangeline Lilly.
I mean, you haven't sent me any links to her porn lately, so I wasn't.
Hashtag gentleman boners. You know what? Tessa Thompson was in that I was thinking of Annihilation.
Oh yes, she was in Annihilation.
I don't even know who.
I hate.
Oh,
She's the anthropologist in Annihilation,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, she's in Creed. She's really good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Next up, we got two from Cody Olo. First one says, Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles? Which is best? And which is the best of the terrible monster cereals? Chocula, Blueberry, Frankenberry, Fruit Brute, or Yummy Mummy?
I'm not sure that I've
so
ever had one of those like monster
Yeah,
cereals,
I've
but
never-
So
I prefer
I've
fruity.
never had one of the monster ones.
I prefer Fruity Pebbles, honestly.
No, Cocoa
Frankenberry.
Pebbles. It's like
yeah, I go Cocoa Pebbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever had like a
Yeah.
Rice Krispie treat but made with like Fruity Pebbles or Choco Pebbles? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not as good.
Yeah, that's just like eating a bar of glass.
No, it's very good.
I would go
Wait,
Count
Casey, you
Chocolate.
like the-
too.
Wait, which one did you go, Casey? The blueberries?
No, Frankenberry, but Colleen's a big fan of the blueberry, so we usually have some of both around this time of year.
Valeska, do you get these cereals in Canada? That's what I would like to know.
I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not actually sure if we do, but I like Fruit Loops, so I guess Fruity Pebbles would be the closest thing.
I do like Fruit Loops.
What's the cereal of choice up in Canada?
Bran Flakes were very boring.
Wow.
Dear God.
Getting
Okay,
crazy.
But like, how much sugar do you add to it?
Yeah. You
Along-
guys use maple syrup.
maple
instead of
syrup,
milk,
actually.
right?
Along,
Okay.
along the same lines, do you guys get Weetabix there? Because that used to be one of my favorites.
Is that like shredded wheat?
It's like a British thing. They're like literal hockey pucks made out of wheat. Like it's like a little hay bale you put in your milk. It's really
Yeah, we get something like that.
Isn't that shredded wheat?
Yeah,
It's like a
I think
brick
so.
though. It's like that big. It's like your whole bowl is one brick, and then you just pour milk on it and eat it.
Oh yeah, those are the big shredded wheats, right?
It's
That
Weetabix,
sounds
Joe.
amazing.
Because I know our Slack people are going to want to know and ask tomorrow, but in Canada, do you flush your leftover cereal down the toilet?
Which way does
can't
it
get it.
spin around
Absolutely
the toilet?
not.
I can't get it.
Well,
I had never heard of that until that episode.
Thank you. Me either. That's why I was in such
Neither had
shock.
anyone else. So.
Yeah.
I can't get into this.
No, that's not true, John. Like a certain subsection of people had not only heard about it but done it themselves,
yeah.
which is the real
Two
disturbing thing.
People
I think-
show to it.
I think they're lying just to make Joe feel better about himself. But
Absolutely not. No,
I asked
Eric's wife is the one who brought this up.
No, I just think there's a lot more deviants out there. No, my wife brought it up because her friend used to do it. Yeah, that was what started. She's like, yeah, you ever see somebody just flush their cereal? And I was like, no. What?
all right.
Do you guys actually wear your shoes in the house?
Yeah, some people do. We don't.
Sometimes.
We
I still have shoes on right now.
That's so crazy.
we
to
don't
me.
personally,
You
but I know
monster.
a lot of people do, and I know there's also like households that don't do it. But if they have like a lot of people over, they're like, whatever, just leave your shoes on, which is always funny to me because I'm like, that's the worst time to let people like you got all these strangers in your house.
Yeah.
I'm having a
Yeah.
party on Saturday, and I'm pretty sure everyone will still be wearing their shoes.
Yeah, because you know what it is? It's like a politeness thing. It's like you don't want to force people to take their shoes off, even though you secretly wish they would. So you're just like, you're fine.
We have
problems
a
telling people to take off their
sign
shoes.
outside our door, telling people to take their shoes off.
Yeah.
It's
Otherwise, I mean, you're welcome to stay in the garage if you're going to keep them on. Have at it. Next one from Cody Yolo. Buy anything new decor/props for Halloween this year. Also, what are your Halloween plans?
You know what we do every year, Joe? We hit up the dollar store.
Oh.
There's always awesome, like, fun little fall decorations at the dollar store, and they're cheap.
Yeah. We added a fog machine this year and a giant spider web and then like a handful of spiders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a front yard to just decorate, so I'm just trying to like fill in a tiny apartment here. So
we picked up a new Sam from Trick or Treat inflatable for the front yard this year.
Nice.
We added a small inflatable. Normally, I'm a little opposed to those because I don't like when people just like toss them on their front lawn.
I think they're kind of corny on it, but like, who the hell's making a Sam from Trick or Treat? Like, is that at Walmart or do you got to order that special?
No, that was the Spirit of Halloween store. So
it's bananas.
Yeah.
My wife decorated our door with a little monster decoration. Pretty nice. That's all we got.
Yeah, apartment living. It's like, here you go. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I mean, I'm having a party on Saturday.
Around my place.
What'd you say?
I was just gonna say I have skulls around my place all year round, so
nice. That
it's kind of Halloween all the time.
I figured Valeska probably has the same decor taste as Cece.
Yeah.
Probably.
Where do you keep your plague mask?
Or your coffee table / operating table.
Yep.
CC, I
I have
follow.
original hanging on my wall.
Yeah, CC, I follow a Twitter account that's literally all just like it's pictures and stories of like gruesome Victorian surgeries, and every time I see it, I'm like, I feel like CC needs to be following this. Like, well,
I know. I feel like you've told me about this, but next time send me the link so I can follow them.
because she did a whole thread on the plague doctor, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yes.
That sounds fun. I follow a Twitter account of dogs dressed up like Disney characters. So same. Next up from Jay Gurin 91, good guy Sharon. Would you guys agree that it's almost time for another spooktacular featuring 40s?
Oh,
Oh
God,
my God, 40s?
I am never drinking a 40 for the rest of my life, but we'll definitely do spooktaculars again. Actually, there's a thing brewing on a video platform that might be a really cool outlet for doing spooktacular type stuff, but it's not available wide yet, so we're looking into it. We'll definitely, we'll get to doing them every once in a while. So it was like we did last year, we did My Soul to Take, which was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
Except
I had a good nap.
next time I'd like to see a movie that I haven't seen before, because what happened with My Soul to Take is I've realized all my jokes and memes for like a decade, most of it didn't seem to happen in the movie when I watched it again. So
It's tough.
yeah, I will.
Reality
I don't want to
bites.
be faced with that again, John.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost wrapped up here. Next up from our good friend Lori Nylon Davinger. I might be a little late, but I wanted to thank you again for the awesome HalloweenCostumes.com gift code that I won this week. Can't wait to
Yay.
get my sweater and tell everyone how awesome you guys are, which I do anyway. Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Lori, who's also on our Slack, ended up being the winner of the $50 gift card. And actually, we haven't heard from one of the winners of the 25. So tomorrow, if we don't hear, we're going to call it and pick somebody new. So there's still a chance you could win, folks.
It could be you. Yeah,
Yeah.
HalloweenCostumes.com. They were nice enough to give us up some codes for our listeners, and it's a cool site. You can get all your Halloween needs there, Joe.
Yeah. All right, two more from. Here's one from Chris Alonti. He asks, Twinkie or Snowballs?
Twinkie.
Twinkie.
Twinkie, I guess.
I'm gonna go
Never tried
Snowballs.
a snowball, but I like coconut, so I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
I've grown to like coconut as I've gotten older. Like as a kid, I hated it, but it's so maybe I don't know. I guess I haven't had a snowball in like 20 years, so who knows?
Yeah, I'd go Snowball. I think they're delicious. Twinkies.
Twinkies, like you eat a Twinkie,
Fried maybe. Fried Twinkie.
You eat a Twinkie and like you're committing for the whole day that you're gonna feel gross. Like you should really eat it before you go to bed so that you can get that like nice reset the next day when you wake up. You don't want to eat it like for lunch.
I think Snowballs are much bigger than Twinkies. So.
Yeah, but it's like the sludge you're eating. It's just like hangs on you.
Yeah. I feel like people like the idea of Twinkies more than they actually like Twinkies. Like, remember when they discontinued them a while ago and like everybody lost their shit? And it's like, well, if you guys were buying them before, they wouldn't have discontinued.
The real answer to this question, Joe, is Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely
Zebra
not.
cakes.
Joe, what?
Yeah, no, what are oatmeal
Who
cookies?
are you? No, oatmeal cream pie.
Yeah, the little pie with
Yeah.
the creams in it. That's the
so
best
freaking
one,
good.
Joe.
Yeah, but aren't they made with oatmeal cookies?
It's just a cookie,
Yeah,
Joe.
but they're chewier.
Yeah.
Joe,
It's
you'll...
not the
I
same.
don't think there's any. There's no actual oatmeal in the oatmeal cream. pie.
Yeah,
Let's
Joe,
just
there's
get that out.
75 grams of sugar in it, all right? You'll be all right.
Yeah.
They're
Carbs, bro.
delicious.
Carbs.
I used to eat 4 at a time. Yeah.
Keto. I haven't had a sweet in 3 months. Horror fan 4129, our last one from our good friend Andy. If you were in Zombieland, which character do each of the crew think they would be? Also, how would you get kill of the week, month, year?
I mean, I'm the clearest Jesse Eisenberg that's ever existed, so... Joe, you strike me as a Tallahassee-like character, if I'm being honest.
Which one is that? Is that
That's
Woody Harrelson?
Woody.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
At least
I
in
think
your
so.
head. At least in your head.
Wow. Either that or Little Miss Sunshine. I'd like to...
John, you're like an Emma Stone.
I
Just-
was gonna go Emma Stone.
Just in
That's good,
my
that
heart,
works.
more or less.
Yeah.
Casey's like our Abigail Breslin. He just wants to like branch out and become his own woman.
I want to have friends my
Does
own
that make
age.
me Madison?
I was supposed to say, who's Madison and who's Rosario Dawson here?
I think Mark is clearly Madison, even though he's not on the show anymore. You guys can both be Rosario Dawson. how's that?
Well, and we're assuming there can be no double ups.
Actually, Mark might be Thomas Middleditch, if I'm being honest.
I'll be a homer. I don't mind.
Just walking off the ledge. Nice. I like it.
That's it. Unless anyone has an idea of how they would get the kill of the week.
No.
I mean, you
Dude,
got to
no.
do it with what it's got to be a spur of the moment. You can't plan it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We're done here.
Sorry, I'm responding to Aussie Andy on Slack, who has heard of Weetabix, and he posted a picture in Slack. So there we
Perfect.
go.
Yeah, seems like a good time to do that.
Twitter. We're on Twitter. Hashtag AskBGH. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. If you are one of John Schnarz's professors, write us in. We'd love to hear from you. Before we wrap here, Valeska, how can people check out Grimm magazine?
You can go to anatomyofascream.com. There's going to be a tab there that says Grimm Magazine. You can download the digital issues for free, or you can order your own print issue.
For free? What a deal.
For
That's
free.
amazing. And your book coming out?
HOLpublishing.com to sign up for the mailing list or get updates.
Nice.
And it will be out in February.
You cut out for a second. What's that address again?
It's not my book. I'm co-editing. HOLpublishing.com.
Gotcha. All right. We'll post the link for that. John,
Cool.
Eric.
next week, it's happening, John.
Top 25 of the decade.
A decade in
mhm.
which Bloody Good Horror has been in existence for the whole thing, which is really
Yeah,
good. It's
yeah,
going to be
no.
fun.
As
The
curated
list is
by
done.
John Schnars.
No, the list is done. We have, as a little preview, we have 14 ballots submitted, and they've been tabulated. And
Can I
have
still
the results.
can I still tweak mine?
Yeah,
I have one tweak. I gotta add something.
yeah. I'm gonna ping everyone, and I kind of want to validate everyone's list before I lock it in. But yeah,
Are you gonna add Zombieland 2 to that list?
if you want it, oh yeah,
Me?
no,
No. I think I had to put it chapter 2 on there.
You got one tweak, Eric?
I think
Since you
so.
looked at me, dropped your arms to the side and said you're crazy. 5 days since you tackled me. You still got the rug burns
I got-
on both the knees.
I got one tweak since you looked at me. So, John,
That's Canadian, Valeska.
so John, this is gonna
Very
be
Canadian.
that is Canadian. You're right, Joe. Topical. John, so.
Oh, Christ.
Normally, people have heard, obviously, our top 10 of the year shows. This is going to be a little hairier than that because it's 25 movies, so we're still kind of working on the format, but it's going to be an entire show next week dedicated to this, the revealing of this top 25.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a slightly modified format from how we've done it in the past, but yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna work. We're gonna cover a lot of ground, so get excited.
Very nice. Spreadsheets. It's always my favorite time. We get 2 John Schnarr's spreadsheet episodes this year.
Mhm.
How did I get so
There
lucky?
you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys.
You're welcome.
That's going to do it for Zombieland 2. Valeska, thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Next week, Bloody Good Horror Top 25 of the Decade. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you then.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.